the next part of the lesson deals with divisibility test. There we go. Divisibility test. And so we've broken these down into different ones that are, it's easier to explain this way. So the divisibility test for 2 and 5 and 10 would be really easy. Okay, so a number is divisible by 2 if it's even. And so we talked about earlier being even. Even means that the ending number in the units column is either a 0, a 2, a 4, a 6, or an 8. Okay, so let's just stop there for a second. I've given you 4 rules. Not 4 rules, but 4 problems over here. Let's examine the divisibility of both. See how this one ends in a 4? That means it is divisible. Let me fix both of those. There we go. Divisible by 2. Okay, and all I'm doing on this page is examining 2 and 5 and 10. This one is divisible by 2, and the reason it's divisible by 2 is that it ends in a 4. This one also is divisible by 2. Okay, so let me make up the technology's not cooperating today. I'm sure that you have all experienced that before. There we go. Okay, so 14 is divisible by 2 because its last number is a 4. And if it ends with a 4, that's right here. If it ends with a 0, a 2, a 4, a 6, or an 8, it is divisible by 2. If I look at this one, it ends with a 5, so this is not divisible by 2. And if it ends with a 0, it is divisible by 2. And so that's how you would go about testing for that rule, the 2 rule. Okay, so if it's divisible by 5, that means it ends in either a 0 or 5, and those are the only ones, 0 or 5. So let's go back through these again. I'm going to color these blue. Already used blue. Let's go with pink. Okay, this one is not divisible by 4. Okay, let me start back over. It's been a long week, so sorry. Not divisible by 5. That's the number we're going by here. The reason it's not divisible by 5 is it doesn't end in a 5 or 0. So this is not divisible by 5. This is divisible by 5. This is divisible by 5. Okay, and the last two are divisible by 5 because they end in a 5 or a 0. The last one is 10, and 10's easy. 10 says we are divisible by 10 if we end in a 0. Okay, so this one is not, let me fix my color, not okay, it ends with a 4, so it's not divisible by 10. Okay, this one ends in a 4, so it is not divisible by 10. This one ends in a 5, so it is not divisible by 10. Okay, so they're really easy to tell. It just ends on this back number right here. This one ends in a 0, so it is divisible by 10. Okay, so those are your rules for 2 and 5 and 10. The way that you tell those is just the ending number. Okay, so that's how those would look. Okay, my next one are 4 and 8. Okay, so what you're going to do with the numbers 4 and 8 is you're going to look at the ending numbers, not just the last column, but the last 2, maybe the last 3 columns. So the divisibility test for 4 says, are the last 2 numbers divisible by 4? Okay, I'm going to start at my bottom and work up. See these 2 numbers right here, 32? 32 is divisible by 4. 4 goes into that. So since the last 2 numbers are divisible by 4, this is divisible by 4. Okay, so then we have 413. Okay, so my last 2 numbers are 13. Well, 4 goes into 12. 4 does not go into 13. So this is not divisible by 4. Okay, looking at the top one, it's a huge number, 54,628. The last two digits are 28. 28 is divisible by 4, so that means that this number is divisible by 4. Now the way that 8 works is it's the same thing, except you can't just use the last two numbers, you have to use the last 3. So starting at the bottom again, if I take my last 3 digits, 038, 38, I'm sorry, that's a 032, I apologize. 032 is divisible by 8 because 32 is divisible by 8. So yes, this is also divisible by 8. Now you'll ask the question, why don't you just divide it? Well, on your test, I'm not going to know any different. So if you wanted to take this and see if it was truly divisible by 8, you could. So 8 times 7 would be 56. 8 times 5 would be 40. And 8 times 4 would be 32. You get no remainder. So truly, 6,032 is divisible by 8 because it divides evenly. You'll say, well, what's the purpose of the division rules? Well, look at the top one, the 54,628. I can look at it, see that 28 is divisible by 4, and I know it. It works. I don't have to divide it all out old school. So that's it's quicker, and so that's your purpose for that. Okay, so when we get to the next one, we would have to look to see if 413 was divisible by 8. And so I know some things about it. I know that 13 is an odd number, and 8 is an even number. And so in order to be divisible by 8, it would first have to be divisible by 2. And so as soon as I see that this one isn't divisible by 4, it's not divisible by 2, I know it's also not going to be divisible by 8. Okay, looking at the last one, I would have to say if 628 is divisible by 8. Because remember, when you're trying your 8 rule, the 8 rule is the last 3 digits. Okay, this one would give me a remainder. So 628 is not divisible by 8. So that means that this big number right here, this whole number, is not divisible by 8. Okay, and that's your rule for that. Let me look at the time. Okay, we should be able to get one more of those in. Okay, the last one is 3. Well, the last group is 3 and 9. And so what you're going to do with those, it's really easy, more easy than the last one for sure. You are going to sum the digits. Okay, here's what I mean by sum the digits. Look at your first one. Your first one is 711. If you took the digits and you said 7 plus 1 plus 1, you're going to get 9. Is 9, that's the sum, is 9 divisible by 3? Yes. So that means that this one is divisible by 3. Okay, so let's take our next one, 924, 924. 9 plus 2 plus 4. Okay, this would be 11. 11 plus 4 is 15. If you added up the digits, you get 15. 15 is divisible by 3. I'm going to spell it right in a minute. There we go. Is divisible by 3. Okay, so then we have 1,110. Okay, so that's 1 plus 1 plus 1, that's 3. That is divisible by 3, so this would be yes. It is divisible by 3. 6,210. 6 plus 2 plus 1, that's 8 plus 1, that's 9. 9 is divisible by 3. So again, this rule says you're going to take your digits, 6 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0, and when you add those up, you get 9. 9 is divisible by 3, and that's how you do your divisibility test for 3. Okay, when you get ready to do the divisibility test for 9, you do the same thing, except this time you're saying, does 9 divide it? So let's look up at 711. When we did 711 earlier, 7 plus 1 was 9. So 7 plus 1 is 9. 9 is divisible by 9, so yes, this one would be divisible by 9. 924. If you added up 9 plus 4 plus 5, you get 15. Okay, 15 is not divisible by 9 because your multiples of 9 are 9 and then 18. So this one here is not divisible by 9. 1,110. If you add up those digits, you get 3. 3 goes into 9, but 9 does not go into 3. So this is not divisible by 9. And lastly, 6,210. If you added those up, you get the number 9. That is divisible by 9. That's how you'd look at that.